Samantha is a student from Melbourne in Australia. I'm doing my PhD in politics at Monash University. In Melbourne, I lead a pretty ordinary student lifestyle, do the ordinary stuff, hang out with my friends, that kind of thing. Kemsa, on the other hand, is sort of like my Nubian alter ego. When I first came to Kenya to do the research component of my PhD, in fact right here in this spot I was given the name Kemsa by Siama and some other people. And so Kemsa is still a student, but this is the exciting part of my research, the part where I interact with real life people instead of just with books in the library. I chose the Nubians in particular because in the last few years the Nubians have, mainly through the Council of Elders but also more generally, they've done a lot to improve their situation. They've taken their marginalisation and tried to improve it and find themselves a place in Kenya. So that was what I found particularly interesting. If you don't have citizenship, you're not supposed to act politically. It doesn't fit, theoretically speaking, and so I wanted to study this case to see what it can tell us about the theory. And now that I've been here for 7 months and I've really enjoyed getting to know the community and spending time here, I feel like it was the right decision. In terms of my research, what is interesting about the Nubians' political life is the citizenship problem, that for many years the Nubians have not had equitable access to ID cards, that they face discrimination during the application process. For example, they might be asked for their grandparents' birth certificate or their great-grandparents' birth certificate, which is not a document that really any Kenyan is going to have. The place of the Nubians in Kenya is not solid yet. Nubians themselves feel very Kenyan and they're not Sudanese, they've not been in Sudan for many generations. But other Kenyans and certainly the Kenyan government don't recognise them enough. And so that, I think, is also an interesting component of their political life. And of course the land issue. Part of this failure to recognise the Nubians is that they're not given a physical place or a metaphysical place in Kenya. And this struggle over getting title deed for the land in Kibra, but also in other places up country, I think is a good example of how people can still be politically active even when their citizenship is in question. The Nubians are a very, very social people, and I've had a lot of good times attending weddings and other sort of functions. It seems that people in the community really like to be together. And like someone was saying, Zay Ismail was saying in the meeting today, that whenever there's something social or whenever someone is in need of some kind, the community come together, whether it's a funeral or a wedding, and everyone is there. All the other differences that they have in other areas fade away and people just come together, and I think that's really great. And I think the uniting factor there, I think in many cases, is the culture, that Nubians have worked very hard to preserve their very unique culture, which is really a challenge in an urban cosmopolitan context like Nairobi. So the fact that you go to a wedding and everyone's wearing gerbaba and there's Deluca music and there's Nubian food like kisra and garusa, that's a really special part of the community, and I think that goes hand in hand with their social cohesion. Nubian youths, like a lot of other youths in Kenya, in Nairobi, and especially in informal settlements like Kibera, they face a lot of challenges, and those challenges can't be underestimated. The unemployment and the substandard living conditions, I think they really, as you would expect them to, they really impact on the youth. And sometimes people talk about Nubian youth especially as being involved in a lot of drugs and crime, and they can be aggressive and violent. Personally, in my time here, I've not seen very much of that side of the community, though I'm sure it does exist. What I've seen more of is young people who work against all those odds to better their own lives, through income generating activities, and, people really eat humble pie and do really tough jobs just to make ends meet, and I think that's very admirable. But I also see, I see the youth of the community really will be obviously the future of the community, but not just in the sense that they're the ones next to come, but in the sense that I think the youth have a vision for the community, and I think the youth have adapted to the contemporary way of life in a way that means that they'll be better able to achieve their goals, not just for themselves but for the community as a whole. The community needs to get behind one group of leaders who they trust and who they feel they're engaging with sufficiently, and with those leaders they need to develop a real strategy. I think the Nubians are very aware and very articulate about their rights and about their history, but what is lacking kidogo is an actual sort of strategic plan about how to go about doing that. I've met in my time here many people who are capable of formulating such a plan, but it seems that the internal divisions in the community are preventing people from engaging when otherwise they would like to. So if the community were able to do that, I think there's huge potential to get land title and finally finalise the citizenship status of the community, get some proper recognition in Kenya, and I think the community is on the cusp of doing that. They just need to organise better in a way that is required by the kinds of mechanisms they're dealing with.